This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan and Amy getting a lot of feedback about worst combination of musician and fans. 773, we talked about both Jimmy Buffett as well as Grateful Dead. 773 text, Buffett is awful, but the Dead is worse. At least the Buffett fans pay taxes. Oh. He's got a point. Also,
and I'm still trying to accept that John Mayer is the new voice. He's the new lead for the Grateful Dead.
He is?
Isn't that weird? Yeah, he is.
He's not an independent artist anymore? He's not a solo artist?
But he's traveling
so
with
he's
the Grateful Dead.
So he's like opening or playing
No, he's
with.
playing their songs. And he's Jerry Garcia. It's very uncomfortable.
He's terrible. John Mayer's terrible. Yeah.
But a lot of people watching near Wrigley this weekend.
See, that is like such bubblegum pop for pre-adolescent children, mostly girls.
Yeah, who thought he was hot and dreamy.
Mothers and daughters. And come
Mothers,
on, dude.
Be good to your
Come on.
dog.
Seriously?
It doesn't get any sappier than that.
So lame. Yeah, he's like a human Hallmark card. Another offering, Dave Matthews Band fans.
Oh.
And Dave Matthews, he doesn't have
the
a good
original pooper.
It doesn't have a good reputation in Chicago for that reason.
Well, you don't empty out the shit you're.
Whoa,
well,
the Shiai. Oh, hello.
No,
you get that? What? Stop
you don't empty
that.
the tank. You don't empty the tank when you're over a river in a big area such as the city of Chicago.
Get carpet bombed by Dave Matthews around here.
That's so bad.
You know what I mean? All right, so we'll continue with the tomfoolery on this topic, but we have to take a break from that now because we have to talk about safety in the city of Chicago. We discussed it yesterday, this open letter from the FOP, from senior officers at the FOP to Chicago residents in response to the open hostility of Lori the Lightfoot to the FOP.
But, there were rumors floating around about, and I didn't verify this, but rumors floating around that they were telling their officers, don't do anything. Don't over Memorial Day weekend. Don't intercede. Don't if you see some criminal activity, just lay back. Do nothing. I hope to God that wasn't true, because man, oh man, if that happened, there's going to be a reckoning.
For more on the topic and the rumors, to respond to them, we're pleased to be joined by Kevin Graham, president of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police. Kevin, thanks for being with us.
Good morning.
So what about those rumors that Lori Lightfoot heard?
Well, let me first dispel those rumors. We never said that to our members. We have always encouraged our members to do the best for the people of the city of Chicago. On Memorial Day weekend, I myself was out in the 3rd District and in the 7th District and in the 19th District. So I don't know how anybody could say that the police union is encouraging people not to do things when I myself was out there. And I was talking to officers. I went on some calls. I was out there with our members. And so that's not a true statement. Don't know where she got that. You know what?
Yeah, I mean, should she be trafficking in rumors, period?
Well, no. I mean, look, that's why you've got people on your staff to do things, to check those things out, because, look, the Internet is one big gossip page, and so I think it's important to check out those rumors to find out if they're real. Certainly, she has my phone number. She can call me whenever she wants. And we didn't get a call. So I think that should have been done. I think at this point we've gone back and forth. I believe that it's important to sit down to discuss these things because the safety of the city of Chicago is important.
Well, what's going on between you guys? Come on. Spill the beans. Come on.
When are you two going to get back together?
I mean, she's got your number, and I'm sure you have her office number, but when are you guys going to sit down and hash this out? And how did this whole
You know
thing
what?
start?
We have a tentative meeting set up for the end of this week.
Okay.
Let's see if that occurs. I hope it does. We have had several dates that have been canceled. but I am interested in talking to her about the safety of the city. I do believe that she is concerned about the officers' wellness in terms of the suicide rate, and I think that there's a lot of common ground there that we can be talking about and that we can be working on.
So specifically, what's your issue agenda for that meeting?
Well, I do want to talk about our contract and how quickly we can get that done. I do want to talk about the consent decree briefly. I want to talk about the suicide rate and what we can do to reduce that, and about mental health generally in the city of Chicago, too. I also want to talk about the crime rate and some ideas that I have that I want to share with her as to reduce the violence in the city.
What about Kim Fox? Is she on the punch list?
No.
But I mean,
you want to sit down with her?
Well, I mean, not sit down with her, but I mean, but talk to Lori Lightfoot about, we need to collectively put pressure on the state's attorney's office to keep violent felons, or to prosecute violent felons to the fullest extent of the law. What about that conversation?
Well, I mean, that is a conversation that I actually had with the state's attorney last week, and I certainly will be talking to the mayor about what our problems are at 26th Street and in the courts in Cook County. Certainly, as you know, we are objecting to the low bonds and the no bonds for criminals. We also object to the fact that we have criminals who are stealing from stores, and it's a revolving door. There's no prosecution, and so we certainly have a problem with that. And we have reiterated that a number of times. We do want some support. It would be nice that if the mayor supported us on that. I don't know where she sits on it. We haven't talked about it. But we certainly know that it's important to prosecute people who have committed crimes. Otherwise, what's the point of having laws in courts? Right. If you're just going to let them go, then the laws don't mean anything. So I am a fairly, not hard, but I am a law and order type of person, and I believe that you need to enforce the laws. Now, if the judges want to show leniency, that's their job, and I'm not trying to impose upon them. But I certainly believe that it's important that once we arrest somebody, that they are prosecuted.
What was
correctly?
Yeah, yesterday you released or sent out an open letter to all the citizens of Chicago. What was the purpose of that letter?
I think that it was to clarify some of the statements that have been made and where the FOP sits on that. I think that it's in one of the important pieces of the letter is that we want to show that we want to get a contract done. We want to get it done as quickly as possible. We also want to show that when you are talking about a consent decree, that the officer's safety is extremely important. We illustrated that Jeff Sessions, who was the Attorney General, said that it was not in his view to have a consent decree. It was his idea to have a collaborative effort between both the police, the citizens, and the city and police department to try and work out the things that we need to do to make the police department better. So they chose to go with Lisa Madigan and the Illinois Attorney General, right, and have a consent decree.
So on this,
I think that was a mistake.
On this consent decree, then one of the impasses between the two sides here, Lightfoot has not been specific. You guys started to get more specific in that open letter that you released with respect to the point and report stipulation that Lori Lightfoot would like you to abide. In addition, I mean, we talked about some of the other silliness in that proposed consent decree that was dismissed by AG Sessions, like proper pronoun usage for would-be assailants and so forth. What are the specifics that she wants you to stipulate to and that you don't want to?
Well, let's talk about point and report for a moment. It's important that when an officer is approaching a dangerous situation, whether it's a felony traffic stop or whether it is searching a building, that he has his weapon drawn and in front of him. I don't think you can see any video, any television show, anywhere that you go to see that is not considered proper. And now to say, well, we want you to do a report if you're pointing your gun at somebody, that takes people off the street. It puts the officer in hesitation. We also are concerned with one of our officers who was badly beaten, who will never return to the job because she was afraid to pull her gun, as she felt that she was going to be criticized afterwards. And we just can't have officers beaten up for no reason. And that hesitation leads to those kinds of things. We need to make sure that officers are safe. They know that they are being backed up by the department and by the FOP. And so we object to it.
Is there
a safety issue?
Point and report, that's one thing. Anything else?
I mean, there are a number of things in the consent decree that we are objecting to, but we are also formulating those plans because we also have to go back in front of we may have to go back in front of the judge in this case, the federal judge, Judge Dow, who's overseeing this case, and we also have our appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, which quite frankly, is looking better. Although I caution people, the Supreme Court gets about 5,000 requests to hear their cases, and they only hear about 70.
Right.
So, but our case is looking better, and we're just going to have to see how that plays out.
Let me ask you a financial question. I know you talked about the contract that's in part financial, but this is specifically completely financial. And to what I've heard from Lori Lightfoot thus far, she has no specific financial plan to deal with the city's unfunded pension liabilities for police and fire. So let's talk about police. Based on my sort of back-of-the-envelope math, based on the reporting that's been done of the police pension fund to the State Department of Insurance, I mean, I see that fund, if economic times continue to stay relatively good as they are now, I see that fund being unable to pay current beneficiaries by the end of 2022. Now, I know that generates a lot of, well, no, that's crazy talk and so on and so forth. It's simple math. The police pension fund is less than 25% funded. It's death spiraling. And what's your conversation, or how much front and center is that in terms of the conversation about the contract, or just the conversation about the pension fund standalone?
Well, they are separate. But remember, the taxpayers of the city of Chicago are paying for both of them. So it is important to try and solve the solution. We have tried to solve the solution a number of times. We got what was called an actual required contribution that would have mandated the city to fund this several years ago. They went down to the legislature. They got the can kicked down the road, and so now we're looking at. Well, in the next few years, it could be about $700 million for the city to be making payments to the pension fund. One of the things we had done, and it was at the top of my agenda, was to put in a bill mandating that the profits from the casino go to the police and fire pensions. Certainly, that had been approved, as you well know. What we would also like is that those gaming positions that could be at either O'Hare or Midway, that those profits also go to the police pension fund, the police and fire pension funds. And that would shore up the pension funds immediately. And they could put those gaming machines in relatively quickly, within a few months if they wanted to. So certainly there are some avenues in which we could start putting money into it. It's a long process. We didn't get into this problem overnight, but the FOP has been working on this since I took office, and even before that too.
Do you think you think your members have a full? I mean, I know these guys and gals, these police officers, pay attention to this. Same thing with firefighters and other public sector pensioners. That's all they should. But I mean, do you think they have a full understanding, a real appreciation for just how severe the problem is, just how close to the cliff everybody is?
You know what? I give credit to our members because I think they're pretty smart people.
Yeah.
I think they also have faith in the leadership of FOP that we are going to keep the pressure on the city to make sure that those pension funds are funded. And it is our job to do that. And so sometimes when we have an open letter and sometimes when we put pressure on politicians, it is to make sure that they live up to the obligations that either the city or previous administrations has made to them. Remember that the members contribute every paycheck into their pension, and they don't get Social Security or extremely a low amount of Social Security. I don't think most people realize that their Social Security is diminished to where it's only about $100 or $200 a month. So the only thing they'll have to live on is their pension. So it's important that we make sure that we keep the pressure on the city to fund those pensions. And we have several ideas. So hopefully there'll be a meeting between the mayor and myself, and we'll discuss those things.
All right. Well, we look forward to the outcomes from that meeting. Kevin Graham, president of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police. Kevin, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks very much for having me.
Take care.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.